Quick question today. It's time to find out if any of you have ever wondered this. Can you get your front suspension cone out without the special compression tool if you've got high-lows? So we're going to have a crack at this, try and wind in the high-low and see, can we actually get that cone out? And then at the end we'll see if we can get a new cone in without the compression tool. Time to find out. What do you reckon? So pretty much I'm just undoing a whole bunch of the difficult to get to nuts and bolts at the moment, and then we'll consider what to do. I'm about to get onto this though. I need to attach that to the floor underneath. I promise I'm going to get onto this bit in a minute, but I've got a bit carried away over here, and I wanted to know, can you get a donut out, and it definitely needs to come out, look at that, without a spring compressor if you've got high-lows? And it turns out that you can. There was loads of grease in here, so that's good news. But if you take out the droop stop and you wind your high-low all the way in, and if you, well, you don't have to cut this, but I had to cut it because I couldn't get the nuts undone. If you remove your brake banjo, it is possible to slide your pin out. So I'm now going to get new donuts because that one is terrible. Even though I could have adjusted the height with high-lows, I would not have had any suspension. So obviously because of all this, I'm not going to weld this wing on in this video. We're going to order some parts to go here instead and get one of these gaiters. We've got new bottom arm, we'll show you that, and we've got a few other shiny bits that might end up on here. The aim is to extract this, which is the main bar from the top control arm bar, and leave it on the ball joint, but you'll need to get this out. So that's a 3/4 inch. You have to do it with a spanner, you won't get a socket in there. Right, quick recap. Remove this screw to take out the little bump stop from there. In here, remove one nut and bolt at the front. Remove the second bolt. Luckily there's a captive nut, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to get to it. Remove the brake banjo from underneath the subframe there. Pull the brake lines over to the side, which would normally be above that hole. Remove this nut and extract the whole bar out, and it will just fit underneath the clutch housing, but only just, it's very tight. With your high-low at minimum, you can then extract this. You can leave it on the ball joint if you want to. You will obviously need the shock absorber removed. We don't have that in place. Then you can drop the donut down out from the hole. You need to twist your donut as it comes down. Likely fitting the new one in the hole is going to be a bit more tricky, but they do go. So it turns out there's a huge difference between a new cone and an old cone, and basically what that means is, although we did get that one out without a spring compressor, we're going to have to grab the spring compressor to get this one out. And let me show you. Because a spring compressor comes straight down here, this bonnet is in the way. So what that means we need to do is remove the bonnet. Before we remove the bonnet, because we know it's in the right place and we're using it to line up our wings, we're going to put 2 little drill holes through here and the same on the other side. That will allow us to get it back in exactly the same place. Okay, time to admit defeat here. We are not going to get this in without a cone compressor due to this being twice the height of the one that came out. So yeah, you can get a dead cone out without, if you've got high-lows, but you can't get a new cone in. Anyway, that's fine. Managed to borrow one. Got a couple of new rubber rings here for holding in the grease, dust covers. Check this over, this is not worn. What we're going to do is just assemble this as a mock setup. So we'll get the dust cover on each end of here, and then obviously this goes towards the front of the car, and then we've got the same concentric kind of groove in here that holds the grease in. That goes towards like that. We've got a new cup to go in here, so we'll get him squared away, and then we'll try and get this up onto the car with the actual compressor being used. Put my new bump stop on there. I might have to take him out in a minute, I'm not sure, but basically there's a little tiny locator bump just there. So it looks like it should be a screw, but there's not. Just a little dimple, nipple, whatever you want to call it, that locates on, and then single screw from the front. You might get in the way, so we might have to take him out. Anyway, slung the new cone up in here. Done my best to make sure it's seated in the recess, and then from the top put this long threaded bar down without the outer sheath, and just try and get that to take on the top of the cone. Down there's like a big supporting square flat washer. You might be able to see the silver part. Make sure that's in place. Then once you're into the cone slightly, slide the tube over, put the washer on, then you got your big spanner on the nut, and you can just start cranking it tight. And obviously it's a bit like a shock absorber in the boot. If it starts to rotate the middle, then you just come along with your other hand and your other spanner, and you just hold that still. Anyway, we'll get a few turns on this and offer it up and see how we are, and if it's not going to go, we'll crank on it a bit more. Don't know how much you can actually compress it, but I think you're going to have to put quite a lot of effort into that. But we'll start with maybe 3 turns once it goes tight, and then we'll see how much space that gives us. Bear in mind, got this prepared on its absolute shortest setting. Got my nylon cup with the rubber already around it. That's important, that is, because it's a real pain in the bum to try and get that rubber around that nylon or whatever it is cup, plasticky nylon cup. If you don't get that seated over it before you install this into the top arm, really hard to get out. There is a tiny hole in the top arm that's directly underneath this, basically just allow you to push it in and make sure it doesn't make a hydraulic, pneumatic lock. So you may be able to just tap it out using that tiny hole if you have already inserted it and forgot to put this rubber over. Let me have a few cranks on this and see how I'm doing, and then I'll bring you back in.
Alright, now we got this one and the blind one on the back in place, and we've tightened up that one. We've got to squeeze this in. There's a little nubbin that goes over, and then this screw to go in. To get that in, I've kept the suspension low, and then we just jacked it up. Got the joint back in here, made sure the drive shaft is connected, and then I'm able to squeeze that into the space because we've got this arm jacked up. And now we get our little stubby screwdriver in here and just get him screwed in. You don't need to watch that. And then we'll get onto this joint and let it down a bunch of turns, so the car's not too low at the start. And then that will finally be the cone replaced. And yes, you definitely need a cone compressor to fit a new cone, even if you've got high lows. Get one out without, but you won't get a new one in. Off the jack then. All seems fine actually. I think maybe just because that's a new poly stop and there's no weight on the wheel. Everything looks fine. Just got rid of the worst of the corrosion off of this. A little bit of copper grease on here. We'll get this tire bolt reinserted where we've just taken out the compression tool. With any luck, he will go in there nice and easily. You don't really need to watch me do that, but that's what it'll look like when it's done. So to close out this video, just going to weld up under here, as I promised I would. We'll put 3 or 4 tech screws along and we'll close all these gaps up. Already that first one is making a huge difference. Thanks for watching this one, guys. I guess we found out that, yeah, you can get it out because it's crushed so small, but the new ones are so much thicker. You are not getting one of those in without a handy cone compression tool. So unfortunately, you're going to have to find someone that you can borrow one off of, or bite the bullet and purchase one. I mean, they're not that expensive. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.